What's up, guys? Coming here to talk to you about Harry Potter, the Half-Blood Prince. So, today I'm filming two of probably the most controversial videos that I've ever made. And I've even talked about not liking Star Wars Episode 8, you know. I haven't done a video about enjoying Star Wars Episode 1 in defense of Jar Jar Binks. That could be number 1. Anyways, but we're on number 2 right now, I think, of controversial videos for me. And that is, I don't like Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And I want to argue that it is a ridiculous story. Alright, so when I say I don't like it, let me clarify some things. There are a lot of things in the book that I really do enjoy. So you'll see right away that they're at the Pevensies, or however you pronounce that. I really enjoy a lot of that story, where they're looking into the past, learning about all the things. I think that's just really cool. I also enjoy learning about the Horcruxes, and you really delve into Tom Riddle, which is great. So there's a lot of really great stuff in the book. And of course, everybody's favorite thing is about Snape. But I'm going to argue that, and the main reason I don't like the Half-Blood Prince is because you could remove everything about the Half-Blood Prince, and the book and the whole series would not suffer for it. Okay, the Half-Blood Prince really has no bearing on anything whatsoever. Nothing. So Severus is the Half-Blood Prince. Who cares? What does that have to do with anything? So here, basically, Harry gets this book. He and it gives him all the answers, and then he's learning all these new spells and whatever, and it turns out at the end it's Severus. It's Severus Snape. So, okay. Who cares? Like, how is that important? Why would you name a book after that? Now, if they had named this if she had named this Harry Potter and the Horcruxes, or Harry Potter and the Pevensies, or Harry Potter and Tom Riddle, or something like that, something, or even like Harry Potter and what was the first one they go after? Which is, I think it's Hufflepuff. What is the Horcrux they go after in this one? The amulet. Yeah, I can't remember. Like if it were about that would make sense, But honestly, I feel like the Half-Blood Prince is really just a filler book to get you to the 7th book. There's not like a conjoined story. Half the book, Harry's, wondering about what's going on with Draco, about him having to, spoiler, kill Dumbledore. And then the other half of the book, he's in the Pevensies and learning about the history of Tom Riddle. And I guess I said half, and then the other third of the book is him trying to figure out who the Half-Blood Prince is. But it really doesn't matter. Like, if he had never found out who the Half-Blood Prince was, it wouldn't matter. We would be like, oh well, we'd feel unsatisfied, but it wouldn't really change anything. Dumbledore would still die. It would die in the exact same way. Then we'd go to the next book, and everything in the next book would happen exactly the same way. We just wouldn't know who the Half-Blood Prince was, and we probably wouldn't care, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When has he ever been called the Half-Blood Prince? Like, it wasn't something that, like, it's a name. It looks like he called himself. Like, okay. I mean, I know that ultimately we get to the biggest spoiler in Harry Potter, which is in the 7th book, that, Snape always loved Lily. Okay, that's great. and that he was actually fighting for, and for Harry Potter and against Lily the whole time. Oh, I mean, it's a really great twist. It was really good. But him being a Half-Blood Prince has nothing to do with anything. Prince of what? Makes no sense to me. No sense to me. And it's pointless. Like, there's nothing in the, like, the only things we really need in this book are, we learn a little bit about the Horcruxes, which is great. We learn about the Pevensies, however you say that. If I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry. It's just how I read it. So I've only seen the movies 2 or 3 times. So I'm just saying it how I read it. So there, take that. Let me know. I'd love to see the phonetics for it. So Pevensies, the Horcruxes, and then Dumbledore dies. That's all you need to know. I mean, I think there's some really cool stuff with Draco. But honestly, like, Draco really has very little to do with anything. He's got his own personal struggle off to the side, and it's cool for Draco, but it doesn't really. It's not enough to build a book on, if that makes sense. So almost nothing happens in this book, except for the very end. There's this weird book that he's reading that gives him all the answers for the tests. And for me, I'd be like, that's any textbook ever. It gives you all the answers for the test. Like, maybe they've got a bad textbook. Like, come on now. Why would they even have a textbook that gives you the wrong answers, and the teacher expects you to be able to, do the things in there? It just makes no sense. So somehow Snape figured it out without. Well, I mean, he may have read other textbooks, but are you going to tell me that Hermione Granger doesn't read the other textbooks? I mean, come on now. That makes no sense. Why do we care what Draco's doing? He's running around doing something. Why does Harry care? I mean, I know he's trying to prove that he's a Death Eater, so it sort of makes sense, but whatever. The Horcruxes is the big one. That's the only thing that really makes sense in this book, because it's leading up to the 7th book, where they're constantly searching for the Horcruxes. So to build up to the Horcrux is the goal of the book, and it doesn't do that. Instead, the Horcruxes seem to be a side quest for the main quest, which is who was the Half-Blood Prince. But half of the book doesn't even feel like they care about the Half-Blood Prince, because they mention it back and forth all the time at the beginning. And there's this whole middle section where he's talking about the Pevensies with Dumbledore. Then they go on the quest for the Horcruxes, and then you circle back around to the Half-Blood Prince, and you're just like, I forgot about the Half-Blood Prince. Like, when I was watching the movie, and I know the movies aren't the book. When I watched the movie the first time, I was just like, it's like Half-Blood Prince. Oh, the book, the guy who wrote the book. I was like, why do I care who wrote the book at this time? Dumbledore just died. Like, that's the problem. That's the big thing. Like, who cares if Snape wrote this book that is actually correct? Like, maybe we should be reading his textbook instead of this other textbook that you're using. That's called bad teaching right there. That's not, a plot for a book. Let's say math teacher uses math textbook that has wrong answers and expects kids to come up with the right answers, even though it doesn't explain how to do the math questions. Yeah, that's how you teach. That's how you teach a class. Okay, so I like the book. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love Harry Potter. There's a lot of stuff that's added in this book, especially with Harry and Dumbledore, because this book, the good parts of this book is that these two right here are getting so close and becoming such good friends, and that is vital to the 7th book. So there are aspects in this book that are vital to the next. Dumbledore dies. Dumbledore shows Harry the Pevensies and the Horcruxes, which are both vital to how things turn out in the 7th book. But there's a lot of dumb stuff that doesn't make any sense. Now, yes, you do get a lot with Draco, although he almost disappears in the 7th book and just kind of barely shows up every now and then. But you know, his side quest in this book really, you kind of feel like this book is made of 3 side quests, and really it should be made of a main plot with a few side quests alongside. So let's look at what's it called? The one before it, which is my favorite, the Order of the Phoenix. I love that book, and I know that a lot of people don't like it, and that's okay. My favorite part about it is that your villain, and I'm kind of blanking on her name at the moment, but any other day I could tell you. She is so easy to hate. She's such a good villain that you hate her. It's great. It's great. And really, the plot is that Harry is trying to save Hogwarts from this ministry lady. And everything else is aside. Like, it's one of the few ones that Voldemort is not the villain. So I think that's really interesting. And even though he does have a part in it, like, he's trying to convince everybody that Voldemort is alive. And so there's this really interesting epic battle at the end. So he does. So Voldemort is sort of the villain. He's one of the villains, but he's not the main focus. Umbridge, that's her name, Dolores Umbridge. She's the main villain. But this main quest is to stop Voldemort. And by doing that, he's also trying to save Hogwarts from Umbridge. So you have these 2 dual things where he's trying to avoid Umbridge and still be able to beat Voldemort. And there's some side quests in there, you know, side things like going to the forest, meeting the centaurs, and you have Hagrid and his half brother, and they all kind of tie together at the end. Which is great, but you have a bunch of stuff with Trelawney, or however you say your name. The teacher that likes to read Harry's future. I love her character. And then you have the Order of the Phoenix being started. So Harry's becoming a teacher because he has another. So you have all these side quests going on, but your main purpose of getting to Voldemort at the end is still intact, trying to save Hogwarts and get to Voldemort. And so, but with HalfBlood Prince, like, you have 3 side quests, and the main goal is to get to Dumbledore's death. Like, that's the main idea in the book. Dumbledore dies, or the main tragedy, I guess you would say. I guess the main purpose of it is to introduce the Peven season and the Horcruxes. But it doesn't focus on that. Those are sort of like side quests. And instead your main focus is the Half-Blood Prince that nobody cares about. Like, I'm sure, like, Harry Potter fans care about who's the Half-Blood Prince. Oh, it just adds to his character. Sure, and these are all great things. But to make it the point of a book, something that doesn't really technically matter, it doesn't make any sense. And again, the reason it doesn't matter is because if he was not the Half-Blood Prince, and let's say Slughorn was the Half-Blood Prince, it would change nothing. It would change nothing in the 7th book. It would change nothing. So it's just like, all it really proves is that Snape is pretty evil guy, and eventually that he loves, I mean, it's just another step on to the fact that he loves Lily, and then lastly that he's really good at potions, and that's it. Like, we already know that he's good at potions. We already know that he's an evil guy, and then at the end we find out he loves Lily anyway, so we don't really need this. I mean, there's easier ways to do it than Harry finding a book that really they should be all reading, and not this book that is broken, you know, or this book that's wrong. They should really be reading a real book that's been updated with Snape's corrections. Can you tell me that Snape has been the potions master up until the 7th book or the 6th book, and he hasn't changed the curriculum? Come on now. Come on, he'd be like, why would you do that to your students? Makes zero sense. Zero sense. So, and again, there's no way that Hermione Granger didn't read every single book for the potions beyond just the main textbook, and that there's no way that she didn't figure out the right way to do things. There's no way. Hermione would excel in potions class. You know, she's gonna figure. I bet you she's gonna figure these things out. She's not gonna just sit idly by and trust one textbook. She's gonna read like a whole library worth of textbooks for one subject. So that's my thoughts. I know that everybody likes the Half-Blood Prince, and I'm sorry for it. No, I'm kidding. I'm glad that everybody enjoys it. I just can't like it. Like especially when I watched the movie, I was like, this is dumb. Like this made no sense to me. And then I was like, okay, but maybe it's just the movie, maybe it's the book. And I learned there was so much more to the book, and I love the book, so I highly recommend read the book. It's so much better than the others. But as far as the canon goes, or for the series goes, for the 7 books, it's the worst. It's not the it's on the bottom. It has no point. It's not very well plotted out, and I think J.K. Rowling is a genius at writing. I think she's really great. I'm so thankful for the Harry Potter series, but this might be the one, the one bad book out of the group, and that's okay. I'll still read it over many other books, but that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. What are your arguments for the Half-Blood Prince? Why you think it's good? Is there something I missed? Because I'm not perfect, and I make I have opinions that aren't always unbiased. So let me know what you think. I'd love to have a discussion about it. Give me a like, subscribe, whatever. Leave a comment, and check out our Facebook page. That would be awesome. Where we talk about stuff like this too. Mostly right now I just share the videos, but it's another medium, so you can get to this channel and join the community of people, and we will catch you next time. Peace.